Conceptual framework lives at the center of empirical study. It serves as a guide and a ballast to research, functioning as an integrating ecosystem that helps researchers intentionally bridge aspects of study together through a process that explicates connections. As a qualitative researcher, it is vital to understand what a conceptual framework is, what its components are, how they interact. Keeping this in mind, Mr. Mwade is proposing a business research study formulated the following conceptual framework for the same. So the preamble of the question is usually the same in all conceptual framework related questions. So now we're going to look at this conceptual framework and identify the parameters that we've been asked. So number one, we are being asked to formulate the title for this research, classify the variables, and explain the relationships between the conceptual framework and state the title and draw conceptual framework of your own proposed study. So here we're having transformational justice, transformational leadership, organizational behavior, and turnover intention. So from this conceptual framework, what title can we come up with? Anyone?
Can I try?
Mm-hmm. And try?
Okay. Yeah, just thinking, huh?
Yeah.
Please correct me if I'm wrong. So maybe I would okay, looking at organizational justice, I would say investigating the role of transformational leadership, organizational citizenship behavior, and turnover intention in organizational justice.
Okay. Intelligently thought. The role of organizational justice in enhancing employee turnover. You can say, what are the others feeling? Okay, so let's come up with any based on the parameters that we have. So we can say the role of organizational um, justice in reducing employee turnover, or the impact of transformational leadership on organizational citizen behavior, or examining the mediating um, effect of transformational leadership on the relationship between organizational justice and turnover intention, or the influence of leadership style on employee retention and organizational commitment. Any of these ones here. So you can tell what your variables are from here. So which topic are we going to pick from there based on this research conceptual framework? Then which ones are dependent and dependent variables? And which ones are our mediating variables? So we can pick.
Think so for
Uh-huh.
that organizational justice as a dependent variable,
Mm-hmm.
then organization citizenship behavior and turnover, those are independent variables. Transformational as mediating variable.
Okay. So the independent variable will be organizational justice. This is our independent variable. Then what is our dependent variable? So how we determine what variables to use is also dependent on the topic that you're going to select. So your topic can say one thing, and the variables would also be something else. Are we together? So let's look at question topic number 1. Topic 1, which is the role of organization justice in reducing turnover. So what is our independent variable in that question? Our independent variable will be organization culture, and our dependent variable will be uh, turnover intention. Then if you're using a different topic, the impact of transformational leadership on organizational system behavior. So now your independent variable changes. It becomes transformational leadership, and your dependent variable will be organizational system behavior. So it's very important that we agree on the topic that will encompass a number or the concepts that we want to bring up. Okay, so let's choose what connects everything here. What topic are we going to choose? I want you to um, think critically. Which is the mediating variable?
Leadership.
Yes, transform.
The mediating variable should be transformation or leadership, I think.
Yes, it can be a mediating variable. It can be a dependent variable depending on the topic. That's what the lesson I'm trying to bring across here. So if you choose the topic, the impact of organizational justice on employee turnover, the mediating role of transformational leadership. So your independent variable is organizational justice. Your dependent variable is employee turnover. The mediating variable is what? Transformational leadership. Isn't that interesting? Okay.
This one is a bit confusing. How you are separating the dependent variables and independent variable by
So
looking
look,
at the topic.
basically, we're looking at how organizational um, justice affects what? Organizational. We're looking at how organization justice affects what? Employee uh, turnover. Okay, employee turnover retention. So there are a number of topics that you can come up with. There's no clear-cut one formula of a topic that you can have depending on the relationship. So you can just end here, this is a complete arrow. You can end here, this is a complete arrow. Organizational justice on what? Organizational citizenship behavior. It's a correct topic. Or you can pass through here and there. You can pass through here and there. Okay? They are all correct. So these ones can also be your dependent variables, the result. Or both of them at a go.
Okay, so in a nutshell, are you saying when answering such types of questions, we can even leave out some of the other
Yes.
variables?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
So let's now formulate the possible hypothesis from here. What possible hypothesis can we construct from here? What are our possible hypotheses?
Maybe I could try. So starting with the now hypothesis, I would say organizational justice does not have significant impact on turnover intention. Then the alternative would be organizational justice has positive impact on turnover intention.
Yeah. Good. Are we agreeing? So I want us to come up with a list of 7 hypotheses. So I just want us to be very objective from the way I taught you. We did a similar question here. Just follow the arrows. Our now hypothesis shows there's no effect, or if you want, you can say there's a negative effect, if you want. Okay? So let's start.
Transformational leadership
Huh?
has no effect on turnover intentions. And transformational leadership has a positive effect on turnover intentions.
That's correct.
Then I would also say transformational leadership for the now hypothesis. Transformational leadership does not have a direct mediating role on organizational citizenship behavior. Then for the alternative, transformational leadership has a significant impact on organizational citizenship behavior.
Okay. So you're getting all that, huh? So those are the
Hi,
possible.
Collins.
Uh-huh.
A bit behind. So I get it that we're looking at the independent variable, which is organizational justice. Then we have the mediating variable, which is transformational leadership. Then we
Yeah.
have the dependent variable at the end, right?
Yes.
So now what we're coming up with is the hypothesis, right?
Yes.
Then now the alternative hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't get tired of me. In layman's terms, what are the now and the alternative hypothesis?
Okay, somebody to answer that.
So a now hypothesis, which is HO, assumes that there is no relationship between the two variables, while as an alternative, which is H1, says there is a relationship between the two variables.
Okay, is that clear?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much.
I'm very happy with the interaction. So now let's start. So what
Mr.
hypothesis?
Collins, the question, sorry.
Yeah. Pardon?
Okay, so when we're coming up with hypothesis, it doesn't matter the type of question that we picked. We do not come up with them in relation to the topic that we formulated when looking at the conceptual framework.
Yes and no, because the topic doesn't highlight every aspect in there, like you asked. So the hypothesis is based on the diagram that is there, the relationship that you can visibly see.
Okay.
Mm. All right. So are we together? Have we moved on that? So we can call this H1, call this H2, call this H3, call this H4, can call this H5. So what is H1? Organization justice has no effect on organization citizenship behavior. The alternative, it has an effect on citizenship behavior. H2, organization justice has no effect on transformation leadership. It has an effect on transformation leadership. Then H3, What is H3?
Transformational leadership has no mediating behavior, so has no mediating relationship with organization.
Transformational leadership has no effect on organizational citizenship. It has an effect. Or we can now connect these two to say organizational justice has no effect on organizational behavior through transformational leadership. Because it's a mediating variable and it's connecting through that. Okay? So these are all valid relationships. Here, organizational justice has no effect on a turnover intention. It has an effect on turnover intention. So I can pick any from these connections. Is that correct? Is that okay?
Mhm.
So we've identified the variables, isn't it? Formats. The dependent, independent, and the uh, mediating variables. So explain the relationship between the conceptual framework and theoretical framework. I think we did that again. Who remembers? What is the relationship between conceptual framework?
I think conceptual framework, we are looking at the relationship between the variables, and then theoretical framework, we are looking at the existing theories.
So what's the relationship between the two? Conceptual framework. I need you to explain in terms of how I had guided. So the theoretical framework will provide you the theory or theories that will explain the relationships, number one. Okay? So the theoretical framework will provide us with the theories that will explain the relationship. It is grounded in the existing literature. It will guide us in providing us a lens through which to interpret the findings. So what is a conceptual framework? A conceptual framework, there are two types of conceptual framework. We have an adopted and adapted conceptual framework. Adopted is one you just adopt from somebody's own, somebody who did it. Adapted, you're going to tailor it based on the variables. So conceptual framework is a researcher's own construction on how you can relate the variables. Okay, it's a map that shows the expected relationship outcomes. Are we together? So a conceptual framework is derived from a theoretical framework. So theoretical framework will offer justification of why, whilst conceptual framework will present a map of how these things are connected. Then the next question is, what title now? Oh, we've already explained the title. State the title.
I missed on the title. Maybe if you could just.
Sorry. Omit the title of the research study, then here state the research title and draw conclusions from your own proposed. This one is based on what you had submitted. So sometimes we require to work with the topic. Is somebody talking?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
My request is that maybe we exhaust the last question before we go to this one. This number C was asking for relationship and not the difference.
No, the relationship. What is the relationship between conceptual framework and the theoretical framework? What is the relationship?
Yes, and that's what I'm asking for, because it came out to me as if we are giving the difference.
How are they interrelated. Um, it may sound like I was giving the difference, but it's how they are related. I said, what did we say? The relationship exists in that the conceptual framework is derived from the what? Theoretical framework. That's how they're related. The conceptual framework comes from the theoretical framework. So the theoretical framework will offer justification, whilst the theoretical framework will create a roadmap on how the study is done. So these two are interconnected as follows, yeah? So it is a theory that informs the conceptual model. So I started by explaining first the types of what? Conceptual frameworks, what I add on. But the relationship within the two is that one fits the other, all right? It is from the theoretical framework that we derive our conceptual framework. I don't know
Thank
if
you
I've
very
answered
much.
the
Thank
question.
you very much.
All right,
You have. Thank you very much. Yeah.
okay. So let's go to the research title. So now, what was the title of your research? And you draw the conceptual framework in your actual research that you propose at school, 8 marks. So here's the trick: they don't know your topic. What they want to know is whether your topic resonates. I'm not saying you can falsify. If you know it and it was well done, draw it. Yeah. So anyone to help us with their title and come up, tell us how you do the conceptual framework. Any title that we can have here, or you don't want to share your titles? Yeah, come up with an easy title. The impact of training and development on employee performance. That's an obvious one. Okay. The impact of what? Employee training and development. On what? Employee productivity. So what are the dependent variables in that topic?
Come again, what was the topic?
The impact of training and development on employee productivity.
So employee productivity will be a dependent variable.
Training and development will be independent.
Okay. Training and development will be independent. Suppose we said the impact of training and development on employee productivity, the moderating role of motivation. So how do we draw the conceptual framework here?
So training will be the independent variable, and then productivity will be the dependent variable. And then what was the other one? You said motivation or something? What was the last part? The moderating variable. There was, what was that thing you said?
On the screen.
So motivation would be the moderating variable.
So motivation here. We are moderating variable. You notice our independent variable. So what was the independent variable?
Training and
development.
So sometimes you can enhance it. You even talk about the types of training that you want to look at. Then here, employee productivity. Okay. So what they want is to label and also, okay, and we put their author, source where. You can put yourself. When you say source author, means you are the one who what? Who developed it yourself from the way you saw the variables coming? Author 2020 what? 25. Pick
Mr.
your
Collins,
8 marks.
Mr. Collins, are you open?
Yes, please.
Um, just kindly differentiate for me between moderating and mediating variables
Okay.
in a layman's language, please.
And explain that anyone to differentiate moderating and mediating variables. What are the differences? And maybe you can even ask about control and confounding variables. So what are moderating variables? The use of moderating variables is to affect the strength or direction of the relationship. So they explain to you when or under what conditions something will occur. For instance, the moderating variable here is what?
Training.
Motivation. So
Motivation.
we're trying to explain under what conditions is productivity going to be, is training going to produce productivity. So when we make training highly motivating, so it's a condition, it's a pH, okay? What will enhance, okay, the strength. Then mediating variables, they are the variables that will explain the process through which the independent variable will affect. It explains on how, okay? The hows. For instance, what purports the mediating variables are we going to include here? Maybe skills improvement. That would be a mediator. It's a process of how the through which a dependent variable will affect the dependent variable, how and why the relationship will occur. There'll be skills improvement. Okay. Then control variable is a variable that we hold constant, or the variable that is accounted for to ensure that it doesn't affect the relationship of the two. For instance, age, experience, level of education. So these ones should be controlled to isolate the effect of training on productivity. Then what are confounding variables? What is a confounding variable? It is a variable that influences both the independent and dependent variable. It is a variable, it's like an external factor that will affect the association to threaten validity. For instance, the ability of the amount of training to influence what? Productivity. You may look at the environment in which the training is being done. So it poses a threat on validity. It may defy, it's an external aspect that might falsify or create bias. So I'm still on this conceptual framework. What other possible questions will come when you're dealing with conceptual frameworks? Okay, so many possible angles in which questions to do with they'll ask what type of research design best suit this diagram and why. You've seen such questions. What? The correlational or explanatory, they'll be appropriate because these designs will do what? Are the ones that we use when we are looking at strength and direction. Explain how the justice of how organization justice predicts what? Transformation leadership. So correlation. Another question that may come on this one is what appropriate data collection instrument can be used for this research? Questionnaire, a survey, can be used to measure the perceptions of justice or leadership styles. You can use a questionnaire or interviews. You can get an in-depth understanding on how leadership and justice are experienced by employees. Okay? You can use standardized scales. There's what we call the MLQ, the multi-factor leadership questionnaire, that standard one. Those are that are doing management. So it is used for transformation leadership skills. Then propose any two hypotheses, or we've done that, any two possible hypotheses from there. We've talked about all the seven. That one I can pass, right? What other additional questions do you think can come from there? Discuss any two ethical considerations that you can do to conduct this research. What ethical considerations would you consider? Confidentiality,
Data protection.
data protection, yes. Informed consent,
Confidential.
okay? So I'm just trying to not make you relax on the format or structure of how these questions would come. I want you to understand that questions may vary depending on how or what they want you to look at. Are we together? What kind of sampling technique can be used to identify this particular respondent? That was a question I got. Huh?
Random sampling.
Justify why simple random sampling. Okay. So we